Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this live stream marriage event, Reconnected, moving from roommates to soulmates in your marriage. Apologies for the late start. We've had a couple of technical difficulties, but hopefully from here on out, it's all going to be smooth sailing. My name's Graham Schnell. I'm the CEO of Focus on the Family Africa, and it is an absolute privilege to be hosting this event. And we are so glad that you've tuned in and that you are making this investment into your marriage. We think a great place to start is to open this evening in prayer. So, Father God, we thank you for this incredible privilege to gather together in this way, in this unique way. And Father, I thank you for every couple that has tuned in today and is prioritizing their marriage, Lord. I pray for Greg and Aaron. I pray for every word that they'll speak tonight. That it would carry your anointing, and that marriages would be impacted as a result of this event this evening. And we pray that everything we do and say will bring you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, we're going to be crossing over to Greg and Aaron in a moment, but we felt that we should take a moment just to share how Focus on the Family can continue to build into your marriage and family beyond this event. We are a Christian organization dedicated to helping families thrive. And so we provide a lot of help and resources for married couples to build healthy marriages, and for parents to raise their kids with values that are grounded in biblical principles, and for the youth to grow in character and aspire to marriage and family. And the only way we can really be successful in that is if you engage with us. And so there are lots of ways for you to be able to do that. We encourage you to please visit our website and continue to connect with us on social media. We have a massive extent of content that we just want to make available to you. Principles that will help you have a healthy, thriving marriage and family life. There are marriage assessment and parenting assessment tools. There are biblically based resources. There is access to counseling and a referral network, and so much more. Many of you may listen to the Focus on the Family radio program on your local radio station, and we encourage you to keep doing that. But those programs are also available on our website, through podcast, and even on our Facebook page. And we encourage you to listen to those. You know, it takes an ongoing and intentional investment in your marriage and family to have that thriving family that you all want. And so we really encourage you to connect with us. And speaking of connecting with us, we want to encourage you even tonight to connect with us through the Facebook comment section. And tonight, what we're going to do is break the event into 3 sessions. And so just to give you a short break in between, we're going to have a couple of breaks so that you've got the ability to get up and move around without missing anything. But the 3rd session is going to be a Q&A session with Greg and Aaron. And so during the event, post your comments, tell us you're enjoying the event, hopefully, but also post those questions so that we can send those through and enjoy Greg and Aaron responding to those questions in the 3rd session. Well, without any further ado, it is my great privilege to introduce Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley. Greg and Aaron have been married for 28 years. In fact, they just celebrated their 28th anniversary. Greg is the Vice President of Marriage and Family Formation at Focus on the Family in the US. And Aaron is the Strategic Ministry spokesperson for Focus's marriage ministry. Together they've written over 20 books on marriage and family. They have spoken around the world, including in South Africa, at marriage events and intensive seminars. They have trained pastors and leaders and even professionals in how to effectively work with engaged and married couples. They're very proud parents of 3 daughters and a son, and they live in Colorado Springs. And it is a real privilege to have them join us tonight. So won't you sit back and relax and enjoy this date night in Reconnected with Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley. Over to you, Greg and Aaron.
Hey, thank you so much, Graham. I tell you, we are honored to be with you guys tonight. We love that you're taking time to invest in your marriage and be a part of this date night to really to reconnect together. As Graham said, Aaron and I just celebrated 28 years of marriage, and as thrilled as we are to be with you tonight, if we're being really honest, we were hoping to be in South Africa
Yeah, we were
doing these
supposed to.
events for our
Yeah, we were
wedding
supposed to be
anniversary.
there last Sunday, I believe, or even before that. And 2 years ago, we were in South Africa with you, and we absolutely fell in love with your country and your people, and just had a great time. So disappointing we're not there, but we're so thrilled that through technology, we can be with you in this way. So we're looking forward to a fun night tonight. Hopefully you'll laugh and you'll learn a lot, and maybe you'll snuggle in a little closer to your spouse.
I'm sure that Graham prefers that we're here, because last time I think it was the three of us that were out for our wedding anniversary celebration. So I know that he didn't have to feel awkward this time.
We did have good steak. So Graham took care of us.
We did. Well, you guys, we really want to focus in on this idea of being reconnected. Mm-hmm. Probably the biggest thing that Aaron and I hear as we travel, and Aaron is a marriage therapist, as we work with couples, mm-hmm. we hear sort of this idea that, we love each other, we're committed to each other, but man, we just feel like we're married roommates, mm-hmm. that we just are living life kind of in parallel.
Yeah, and there's several things that can lead couples to feeling like roommates, but what we've really honed in on is that often busyness sets in. We have so many things pulling for our time and our attention, and thus we start disconnecting from each other. Or maybe we're just simply administrating our relationship, almost like a continuous, eternal business meeting between the two of us. And I'll tell you what, that's not why I got married. Mm-hmm. I love when we get, maybe that would be lying. I tolerate sitting down when we have to talk details of our life, because we do have to talk about that. But the truth is, we didn't get married to have an eternal business meeting. Mm-hmm. I got married to have a deeper connection than that.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I don't even know how many years into our marriage this was, but kind of Aaron, through some tears, said, "Can we sit down and talk?" And guys, I don't know about you, but when my wife asks if we can sit down and talk, usually it's not going to be so tell me how you're doing and what are you dreaming about? Yes. But this was more of I'm frustrated, and big tears started to flow down the sides of her face. Is really, she just said, you know what, I don't know what's going on, but we're just like two ships passing in the night. And I feel so disconnected. I feel so alone. I love you. I'm committed. Mm-hmm. But I feel so very alone. And that was a huge wake up call for me. I mean, we were in the midst of doing marriage ministry. We'd written mm-hmm. several books. And so here we are, the experts. And my wife is basically saying that she feels like a married roommate, mm-hmm. and felt so alone. And that was a huge wake up call. Mm-hmm. And that really became that was probably what, 15 years ago. But that's really what we want to focus in on with you is in the reality of life and work and raising children and being involved in hobbies and just everything that we've got going on. How do we stay really connected? Mm-hmm. And so Aaron and I want to focus on two things. And so towards the end, you're going to have an opportunity to, in the Facebook, in the comments section, to post any sort of question you want. So don't hesitate.
And we love hearing from you. So we love to answer questions and connect with all of you all that are out there that we can't necessarily see right now, but we know you're there. So we want to hear from you.
Yeah. So we'll be able to take questions, but really we want to focus on two of our favorite topics, two ways that we can really connect better with each other. So let's jump right in. And here's the first one. The first one really flows out of the very first instruction given to a married couple. So you think about the Bible, the very beginning in Genesis, God is instructing this brand new married couple, Adam and Eve. And here's what he says, that the man should leave his parents, so should leave his father and mother, and should cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. That's a powerful verse. And we could probably spend all of our time just really unpacking that verse. But there's a particular word that Aaron and I have found that can radically change our ability to connect, and it's the word cleave. And I know that you're probably thinking, oh, I thought it was going to be love or oneness or God
Unity.
or whatever,
Yes.
unity, something. I'm telling you, this little word cleave means close pursuit. So think about that. The word cleave means closely pursuing one another. When I saw that verse, all those years ago, we probably had that in our wedding. I thought that was just something that was good as we began our relationship, as we began our marriage. And then we've moved on to better verses in the Bible. But I'm telling you, this idea of how do we closely pursue one another is radical. Because I can still remember when my pursuit of Aaron started. I can go back. Think about your own marriage. Think about when you first met, when you first started dating. There was probably some moments that stand out that really showed you that, man, I'm interested in him, interested in her, and I want to pursue her. I want to get to know her better. I want to maybe see if this is someone I want to spend my life with. Well, I can remember the exact moment that I knew that this was who I wanted to spend my life with. And what's super sad, it's not even close to the same moment for you.
But they'll understand when they hear the story.
Maybe.
They will.
Perhaps.
Greg and I were in university and just a couple years in, and I had transferred into this college, this university, and I saw this guy around the campus, but then found myself sitting in the back of an Old Testament theology class. The problem was it was a 7 a.m. Old Testament theology class.
That's just wrong.
Wrong. And so apparently Greg had been up late the night before, because sitting in front of me was this young man with his head down on the desk. And he likes to say he was praying, but
some of us are very spiritual. So
the interesting thing, he says he's praying, but he was drooling. So there was a pool of drool forming on the desk, and it was about to run over. So I thought, and I didn't want him to miss out on anything in the Old Testament. So I reached forward, I grabbed his arm, and I shook him awake and woke him up just to say, hey, come on, join in.
Yeah, she usually says that she was trying to help me.
I was trying to help. I didn't want you to miss anything.
Well, let me give you an idea of how she thought she was helping me. So I was sound asleep. I'm been way in the back of this class, sitting in front of this girl I'd never met, no idea, total stranger. The next thing I know, she grabs my arm and shakes me awake. So I pop awake, kind of wipe the drool off. And I look at her like, yes, what? Who are you? What do you want? And she leans forward and whispers, like panicked, like whispers. She goes, Greg. She goes, quick, you gotta wake up. And I went, why? She goes, you got to stand up. What? I said, because. She goes, the professor, he just called on you. Now, she's a stranger. I don't know her. Why would a stranger make this up? Most wouldn't. But she leans forward and she goes, he just called on you to pray. So you got to stand up and pray. So I'm looking around. It seems like the professor's waiting. So I literally stand up from the back of this classroom and I started to pray out loud. So as you can imagine, as I'm praying, all of a sudden I can hear laughter and I peek and people are pointing at me. And I'm not sure what's going on, but I just keep praying. And then I sat down and now the whole class was laughing at me. She looks embarrassed. My friends are on the ground, kind of slapping the floor. They're laughing so hard. I had no idea what was going on until the professor goes, Greg, he goes, thank you for your prayer. Thanks for the enthusiasm. But maybe next time you could let me finish lecturing before you close the class in prayer. So that was her idea of helping me. I've never been more embarrassed in all my life. But I'll tell you what, I'll never forget just staring at her as I was red in the face, looking at her thinking, wow, the fact that she could do that to another human being, that she could be that cruel to another person so impressed me that I remember thinking, now that's the girl I want to marry someday. And thus began the close pursuit to win her over. And it took a few
Yeah,
years.
about 4 years. And I
convince
was
you?
really trying to help. I didn't want you to miss anything.
Yeah, right.
And actually, his friends put me up to that. I wish I could own that I was creative enough to come up with that.
Well, we'll do this. We'll do an informal vote. Comment your Facebook comments if you think, that she did that on purpose and it was really her fault. So versus my friends putting her up to it. So let's just say if just vote, was Erin at fault at all in there? So that began really the pursuing of Erin. And what I love about this idea of pursuing, it's exactly what God really does for us. He closely pursues us, and I want to do what he does.
Yeah, think about that verse that talks about he left the 99 and he went after the one. That's what God models for us. Jesus models for us that he comes after us. Even when we're turning from him, he will continue pursuing us. And I want to take my lead from him and continue the pursuit of my husband and continue down that road. Think about, scripture says he'll never leave us nor forsake us. Again, the message is pursue, that he pursues us and continues to do that.
Yeah. I love in the Old Testament, King David. So in the book of Psalms, in Psalms 23 said, so he's talking to God. I love how he says this. David says, your beauty and love chase after me all the days of my life. And that's what I want her experience to be. As I think about closely pursuing her, I want her to feel that my love is chasing after her all the days forever. So that verse in Genesis 2:24, to cleave to one another, again, it's not just for a young couple. This is something that all of us, I don't care if you've been married for 50, 40, 30, almost 30 years like us, you're brand new married, it doesn't matter. How do we continue to pursue one another in the midst of all the busyness, the kids? We heard someone say one time that we've seen the enemy of marriage. So we know what the enemy of marriage is, and they're little. Because kids can really make it challenging, right? Staying closely connected. So how do we pursue one another? Erin and I want to focus on two things. So we're going to make this super simple. So if I'm going to closely pursue my wife, that my love and obviously my beauty is going to chase after her all the days of her life, it's really two things. Number one, if I'm going to pursue her, it has to start because I'm interested in continuing to discover her. So if you're taking notes, if you've got your iPad out, or if you've got, some people still use pens and pencils and paper.
I take copious amounts of notes.
So if you're taking notes, okay, so point number one, if I'm pursuing her, is that I want to discover her. And why this is so important in terms of connection and pursuing one another is because Erin is always changing. And that's a good thing. That's the actual one constant that's in our life, is that we're always going to be changing. Who Erin is today is probably different than who she was yesterday, maybe, or a week ago, 3 weeks ago, in the midst of all this quarantine and COVID. I mean, Erin's changed. And if my attitude needs to be that one lifetime isn't long enough to get to know her. My attitude needs to be, I want to stay curious, and I want to keep learning and understanding who she is today and what does she need. See, I will never be able to pursue her if I'm not interested in discovering and rediscovering again and again and again who she is.
But how do we do that? Just to make it practical, we came across this research, and it really intrigued me because it was so simple. This woman looked at over 300 couples for 30 years. And instead of looking at why couples failed in their marriage, she looked at those that were the most successful. And what she found is so intriguing. The ones who were the cream of the crop, the ones who were thriving in their marriage, were doing one thing. And this one thing was they were spending 10 minutes a day, really getting to know each other at that deep heart level. So I was like, wow, I have 10 minutes a day. I mean, the average couple here in the US spends about 4 minutes a day pursuing each other at that deep heart level. Again, because we're often pursuing, a business meeting, facts and schedules and
Work
small
and
talk.
yeah.
And instead, just choosing 10 minutes a day. How can I really know what's going on inside of you? And I know when we first came across this research, you were super excited about it. And Greg was performing his first wedding and wanted to share this information during this wedding ceremony. Some good friends of ours getting married.
So I had never performed a wedding, so I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do a great job. Huge wedding. I mean, there were probably 500 people in attendance. And so really what I was going to do was I was going to, at some point, I asked for the bride's bouquet. So let's pretend that this is her beautiful bouquet. So I said, hey, let me have the bouquet of flowers. And so I told everybody, look how beautiful this is, and look how mature these flowers are. And I said, this represents the marriage that they've always dreamed of: beautiful, mature, growing, healthy. But I said, so how does this couple have this? Because today, and then I held up a packet of seeds. And I said, the problem for this young couple is that they're like these seeds. So how do they go from the seeds to this beautiful bouquet? I had everybody's attention. Everybody's leaning in a little bit. I'm thinking, oh, this is going so perfect. All I was going to do is share some ideas and then relate them to some element of growing flowers, which I don't garden. I don't
Could have asked for help.
flower. I don't even know what it's called. Tending to flower. I don't do any of that. And so it probably should have been my first clue not to go down this road, but I did. So I started talking about the relationship with God. It's like sunlight. Something else was like water. And I get to my fourth point, which was this research that Aaron shared, this 10 minutes a day of good, deep conversation. And I was about to then connect that to growing flowers. And it left my brain. I couldn't remember what element of gardening I was going to connect this 10 minutes a day of communication to. And so I froze up. So like I'm in front of everybody going, well, you got the flowers and you need things to grow them. I mean, I was lost. I even think I looked out at Erin and she's like,
come on, speed it up.
Yeah, I had nothing. So finally something pops into my mind and I just went with it. I didn't think about it. I just said it. So I said, so this 10 minutes a day of deep communication is like, it's like fertilizer. It's like fertilizer. And I said, so you two, so I'm pointing this bride and groom, you two need to spend 10 minutes a day fertilizing each other. and all of a sudden, everybody started to laugh. And I wasn't sure what was so funny, but I'm drawn to laughter. So I start going on and on about all the fertilizing they need to be doing. And it got
really awkward. And Greg was clueless of what he was saying. So people are laughing. I mean, started to get uncomfortable because he stayed with it because he's drawn to laughter. People were laughing. So he just kept priming the pump with this.
I even looked at the bride and I said, you especially need to spend like 30 minutes a day fertilizing him. And again, it never dawned on me, never registered what people might be hearing as I kept using the word fertilizer. Well, finally the groom, and they were good friends of ours, so the groom could see that I'm clueless and I'm probably not going to stop talking about this. So he leans forward and he goes, hey, can you hurry up? I'd like to start fertilizing her. And then the awareness washed over me and I was mortified. What do you do? I don't know what to say. So my analogy was off, but I'm telling you, the research though is awesome. And now every time you think or hear the word fertilizer, you're now going to think about 10 minutes a day of communicating to each other
and connecting at that deep heart level. And so it's something so simple, just figuring out within your own relationship, within your own marriage, where do we have 10 minutes a day that we can sit and pursue each other's hearts. Think about it. That's what we did when we were dating engaged. And then with the busyness of life and pursuing careers and kids and hobbies, that sometimes the connection here begins to grow distant. But that is something you can do, is to pursue your spouse. You can ask them questions, simple questions of, how are you feeling? Greg doesn't love that one necessarily, but tell me the high of your
Unless
day.
it has something to do with fertilizer.
Tell me the high of your day or the low of your day. Just simple questions, because what that does is it takes it from up here, our minds, our brains, to our hearts. And that's the connection I want. I want a heart-to-heart connection. And working with couples, I hear it repeatedly. That's what's missing. I feel alone, but gosh, when we're connected heart-to-heart, that makes all the difference.
Yeah. To help you do this, you'll notice in the Facebook comment section there, we're going to post a link for conversation starters. So this will give you a PDF so you can download this to your phone. We have done this, so this stays on our phone. It's just a whole bunch of questions that you guys can ask each other. So this is great for going for a walk. You can take your 10 minutes there. This might be early in the morning, before the kids are really up and moving. Maybe you're having coffee together. You pull out your phone, pick a couple of these questions.
Or maybe after the kids are in bed, pillow talk before you go to sleep. But what you're wanting to do is to really pursue the inner life, emotions, dreams, what's stressing you out, what are you fearful about, what are you most excited about, the things that are really on the inside. And that is what we want to encourage you to do. And we recognize too that everybody is in different places in their marriage and in their relationship. You're going to have those seasons of being really connected and the seasons of being disconnected, the seasons of stress and the seasons of joy. And so we encourage you, even if you're in one of those seasons that's challenging, just doing this, telling your spouse, hey, just asking them questions and initiating that, regardless of if they respond or not, you have the influence then to influence your relationship positively, that I really want to know what's going on the inside.
Yeah. So really, again, think about it. If I'm closely pursuing her, it begins because I want to discover. I want to stay current. I want to stay updated. How is she changing? What is she feeling? Now that the quarantine is lifting for a lot of us, I want to keep updated. They're one of my very favorite music groups. Remember the old group Journey, and they've got a great song called Faithfully. And in that song, there's a line, and I think it's one of the best marriage lines ever. And it says, "I get the joy of rediscovering you." And that's what I want my attitude to be. That I consider it a joy, a privilege to keep learning and understanding and rediscovering Erin. And the more that I pursue her to stay updated and current through whatever changes are going on, see that helps me, but it also helps us really stay connected. So I asked Erin one time, if I'm going to pursue your inner life, so how you're feeling and what are you worried about? What are you dreaming about? I mean, just the deeper inner life stuff. I said, what would be some questions that I could ask you? So what would be meaningful to you? Well, I tell you instantly, she goes, "Oh, I got 4."
Doesn't take much.
And I was like, "Whoa, hey, why don't you think about it? Pray about it even." And she's like, "If I think, I'll give you 10. Like, how many do you want?" And I thought, I can take 4. And so what's been really cool is that, I mean, this is years ago, but those have been seared into my brain. And so when we're driving, when we're at dinner, when we're laying in bed at night, I can ask her these. And so she said, ask me how I'm doing emotionally. So how am I feeling? Ask me how things are going between me and our children, not from a parenting administrative, but just relationally. Erin has some close, dear friends. And so she said, just ask me how things are going between me and my girlfriends. And then what's one thing God's been teaching me as of late? And that's been perfect. So I've learned I have to rotate those. If I always start with, "Hey, how you feeling?" That
could take up a lot of
that's going to be more than 10
and
minutes, and that's fine. And that's great. So here's what we encourage you to do. Okay, so in the comment section, think about this. what would be one question that your spouse could ask you on a regular basis that would help you feel like he or she's pursuing your inner life? So again, for me, my favorite question is, what was the high of your day and what was the low of your day? That's all that gets me into good conversation. But what is that for you? Because here's the benefit. You're like, I don't want to, I'm sitting comfortably watching. Why are you making us work? Because you are very clever and creative. And I tell you, Aaron and I have asked people and they've given ideas before that we've taken those questions like, oh, that's a perfect question. So just think of what's one. If your spouse asked you on a regular basis, what would be a meaningful question? And then I'm sure Graham in the African team from Focus, they will take all those, and I'm making this up for Graham, so I'm sure he's sitting there going, don't make any promises on my behalf. But they can take those and post them and give you even more ideas. So closely pursuing begins by discovering our spouse. The second thing is, it's a great word, and you probably don't use this word a lot, and yet we think it's such a cool word. It's the word woo. You might be going like woo-hoo, like what woo. Woo is, here's what woo means. Okay, there's only one place in the entire Bible that we actually see God operating in the role of a husband, pursuing his wife. It's in the book of Hosea, so it's in the Old Testament. And here's what's really interesting. So think about, just for a second, think about this. God, I'm talking about God, is trying to pursue and heal the relationship with his wife, his bride, the children of Israel. So the first thing that he does, Hosea chapter 2, verse 14, that'd be a great, you guys ought to go right there and look at this as a couple. But here's what he says: I am now going to allure her. That was the first thing that God said that he's going to do to reconnect with his wife. I don't know about you, but if it's good enough for God, if it works in his marriage to the Israelites, I want to do that. So woo means that I am doing something to get her attention. I'm alluring her. Alluring means I'm doing something so that in the busyness of life, when Aaron is distracted by kids and jobs and all this stuff, that I'm doing something that causes her to turn towards me.
In a good way, because there's plenty of times I look at Greg and it's not good. It's not what he's looking for. But really, in some ways, it's like, when I'm not a fisher woman per se, but I hear all about fishing from Greg and our 19-year-old son Garrison, and this is a fishing lure. And, it's different for each of us. And I know it's different for each fish, the type of lure or bait that you use to attract the attention of the fish. And so for us as well, what is going to allure you to cause you to turn towards your spouse in a positive way? And just like there's different things that attract different fish, what is it that attracts you, that causes you to turn towards? I know for me, I love gifts. I love when Greg brings me a gift. There's nothing greater to me that makes me feel loved and causes me to turn towards him in a positive way than gifts or flowers or something that is a meaningful thing for me. As a matter of fact, over the COVID season, one thing that he brought me,
that's what I was looking for on my phone.
It literally could not have meant more to me. Because we couldn't find, I don't know how it was there. Here, you couldn't find hand sanitizer.
I'll see if you can see this picture.
You couldn't find antibacterial cleaning products, antibacterial wipes. And Greg came home with that baby, that sweet baby, a spray bottle of Clorox bleach cleaner. Who would have known? I lit up like a Christmas tree. I thought I had hit the jackpot. He thought of me. He saw it. He knew I wanted it, and he brought it home. That caused me to turn towards you in a positive way. Who knew?
Which is so funny. Yeah. Because I had gone to the store, and I'm sure like you guys experienced, man, when it came to all the disinfectant products, those shelves were empty and barren. And in this one particular grocery store in our area, I mean, there were like shelves. They were just so empty. And I thought, does anybody ever like get on their hands and knees and look at the very bottom shelf way in the back?
No one got on their hands and knees on a public grocery store floor, honestly, during COVID. But Greg did.
I did. And it paid off, because in the very back of the bottom shelf and the way back was that one bottle of disinfectant spray.
So for me, it's gifts. What is it for you? Is it when your spouse shares deeply with you? Is it when your spouse asks for forgiveness? When your spouse expresses appreciation or gratitude, thanks you for something you're doing? It's just spending time with you. What is it for you? And that's a conversation you and your spouse can have. That really, what would cause you to turn towards me and connect at a deeper level?
Yeah. So help each other out. Remember, we're all in this together. We are a community of people interested in having great marriages. So again, in the comment section, how would you answer that? So the question is, what would your spouse do that would allure you in a positive way? So how would your spouse allure you? For Aaron, it's getting gifts. For me, I am. You talk about allure, okay? When Aaron is laughing and being playful and just having fun with me, man, that's like, I mean, that just, I go for that.
There. We may need to go to the emergency room with those hooks.
That is what allures me, is when Aaron is laughing and being playful. I just turn. I mean, I'm like, what is so funny? It's like the fertilizer thing, which, by the way, might be what's alluring for some of you is being pursued by fertilizing intimately. Or whatever. Exactly. Or intimately. It doesn't matter. This is what would help allure you. So make those comments. So we've encouraged you to write in what would be one question that your spouse could ask you that would cause you to feel that you're being discovered and rediscovered. And then what is something that your spouse does that causes you to turn towards them that's alluring? And the more that we understand that, how do I keep discovering my wife and how do I keep wooing her? That's how we closely pursue one another. Remember, at the end of the day, Aaron and I want to be like King David in the Bible. Remember when he said to God, your beauty and love chase after me all the days of my life. And that's exactly what we want for each other. I want Aaron to know that I am constantly chasing after her because she matters. She's that valuable to me, and my marriage is that important that I want to keep us growing and staying really, really closely connected. Well, Graham, I know we're going to take a break here in just a moment, so we will allure you by pitching it back to you.
Well, thank you, Greg and Aaron. You guys are amazing. And we are going to take a break. We just thought that it was wise to give you a moment to have a comfort break if that's something you need, and you're not going to miss out on Greg and Aaron. And so this is just the first session. There are 2 sessions still to come, with that third session being that Q&A. So encourage you to keep on sending through those questions that you want to pose to Greg and Aaron for that session. And so we're going to be taking this break now. But as we do that, we'd really like to show you a little bit about what we do here at Focus on the Family. And so if you're not going anywhere, stay with us and watch this short video clip that speaks to who we are as a ministry, Focus on the Family.
Have you ever wondered what this world would be like if those impacting the culture for Christ went away? Would our presence be missed among the bankrupt and the broken? Who would defend the widow and the orphan? Who would be a voice for the voiceless? And where could a family turn in a time of trouble? At Focus on the Family, our mission, our purpose, our passion is to speak grace and truth into the lives of families around the world. A pursuit of peace that begins at home. Healing for the brokenhearted. Hope in something eternal. A lifeline in a sea of adversity. An anchor in an unsettled storm. A champion of the unoffending and innocent. A welcome home for the dearly loved. And a voice of encouragement calling out along the wavelengths. An advocate, confidant, coach, and cheerleader. No matter who you are, what you're going through, or what challenges your family may be facing, we're here to help. And with God's grace and the support of friends like you, we will continue to do so for decades to come.
Well, welcome back. I hope you are ready because we're going straight back into the second session with Greg and Erin. And so welcome back, Greg and Erin, over to you.
It is just Greg for right now. Erin mistimed going to the restroom, so she will be right back here in just a moment. We again, thank you. Seeing the comments come through, awesome. Keep doing that. Let's help each other. So, what are some of those questions that would help you feel like you are being rediscovered again and again and again? And then, what are some things that when your spouse does it, that really helps you feel allured and you're turning towards him? Because at the end of the day, what we're really focused on is we are trying to reconnect and make sure that we are really reconnected as a couple. So easy to feel like married roommates. And here Erin is back.
Woohoo!
And so so the goal is to be reconnected, to just feel that connection. So part of that is closely pursuing each other. Erin and I want to share one of our very, very favorite ways to stay connected. And this should come with a warning. Okay, seriously. Because when Erin and I think about all the ways to really be connected together, honestly, you guys, this is probably the most powerful way that we know. This is going to have such a powerful impact on your marriage if you are brave enough, courageous enough, and willing enough to do what we're about to encourage you to do. This is a session that we call In Our Wildest Dreams. One of the things that's really amazing about marriage, okay, again, God created marriage. He gave that to us as a gift. So remember we talked about last session that first instruction to the very first married couple was to leave your parents and to cleave together, closely pursue one another, so the two shall become one. Think about this idea of oneness, unity. Okay, within marriage, our oneness, our unity is such a powerful thing that Aaron and I call it really a superpower. The superpower of marriage is our oneness. And it is such a powerful thing that we have an enemy that is always going to attack us around our unity. He doesn't want us to be closely connected. He doesn't want us to be unified. He doesn't want us to be one because he fears what our marriage could be. I mean, just think about that. Your sworn enemy, the sworn enemy of God and of marriage, fears you because he knows what your marriage could be. And when we are acting out of that oneness, man, that's a powerful, powerful thing. That is a true superpower. And so part of what God wants from us within our unity, within our oneness, is to figure out how can Aaron and I use this marriage of ours to help others? How do we use our marriage to love God and to love others? I love that Aaron talks about this, that I wish, I was going to say we sort of have a picture, but maybe not. But
well, think of, there's a body of water that is known as the Dead Sea. And the interesting thing about the Dead Sea is that the Jordan River, this life-giving water, flows into the Dead Sea, but nothing flows out of the Dead Sea. And we pretty much think, you know what, that's applicable for our marriages. We have the life-giving water of Christ flowing into our marriage, this oneness, this superpower. And we thus have the opportunity to give out and to bless others as a result of what we have been given through marriage.
Yeah.
And in essence, we don't want Dead Sea marriages. We want to encourage you to keep your eyes open and begin praying about, what is God calling us to do together? What are we dreaming about together? What does that look like for you, especially after this time, this very different time in all of our lives during COVID? What's this next season going to look like for us? What is it that we're being called to?
Because the answer to that, and that can change over time. I mean, over the course of our 28 years of marriage, I mean, there's times where we believe God is having us together pursue something, and then maybe we accomplish it or not, but then we go in a different direction. But I tell you, as I think back on our 28 years of marriage, there is one experience that Aaron and I went through together that so radically changed our marriage for the good. And it all happened because we were pursuing a shared vision. We were pursuing a goal together. And I'm telling you, it's so radically changed our marriage. This is the power of when we dream well together and figure out what are we going to go after and how are we going to love God and others through our marriage. I'm telling you, that's why you've got to be courageous. If you're willing to start to figure this out, it will radically change you, and it's going to help others. But I'll never forget, though, this dream that Aaron and I really pursued together.
Yeah, it was actually my individual dream, bringing it into the marriage. I was adopted as a 6-week-old baby, and always dreamt about adopting a little girl someday. And so when Greg and I were dating, about to get engaged, I said, you know what, Greg, I just need to know one thing. Before we get engaged, I need to know that you would at least consider adopting a child someday. And of course, he said yes, just emphatically yes. I personally, now looking back, think I should have asked for more. He would have agreed to anything at that point.
You had your chance.
Yeah.
You blew it.
So we proceed to get married. Of course, Greg said, yes, absolutely. I would be open to adopting a child. Well, we get married. We have 3 biological children. And I'll never forget, we were teaching at a camp and encourage the couples to go out on our break and to really start asking God, what is it you're calling us to? And so we decided to do that as well. So we went out on our break and we began praying, and it was clear as day to both of us. It's time to start pursuing adoption. And on that day, we named a little girl. We said, we'll name her Antoinette Rose, and we'll call her Annie. And so on that day, we began praying for this little Annie. We had no idea where she was. We figured we would adopt a child and rename her Annie. And long story short, as we continued to pray for this little girl, a friend of ours came to see us at work, and he had just been to China. And he went to an American orphanage, an American Christian orphanage. And when he walked in, they handed him one little girl, and he held this little girl the entire time he was there. And he came and he told us about her. But then he said, hey, this American orphanage is wanting to do some marriage stuff. Would you be willing to go and help them with some marriage stuff? And we're like, awesome, great, introduce us. So he connected us. And I will never forget, an email came from China, from the American orphanage directors, and we were CC'd on it. And I'll never forget, I was standing at my counter reading this email, and he said, hey, introduce Greg and Aaron, this is the orphanage, on and on. And in that email, he asked, how's that little girl doing? The one that you handed to me and I held, she was beautiful. And in response, they said, Annie is doing great. And as I read that, I went, what? Who's Annie? And I stepped back and I realized that little girl that our friend held, that her name was Annie. And Greg walked in and I said, you're not going to believe this. That little girl that our friend told us about, her name is Annie. And Greg said immediately, he goes, oh, well, let's just go get her. But apparently, as you know, there's rules and regulations and laws about adopting a child internationally. And so we started the process. We were told we were crazy, that this will never happen. But yet I was like, you know what? We prayed about this and God has put this on our hearts, and let's just keep walking it forward. And lo and behold, a call came. It's 18 months later, and they said, today we got Annie's file. She's yours. And that pursuit of that little girl, the dream that we had together.
Here's our little Annie. So
changed our lives forever. I'll never forget the day came. We all 5 of us, our whole family, because our whole family shared in this dream. We all traveled to China to be united with our Annie. Never forget the day came. We were in a hotel in this little town in China, and there was a knock at the door on our hotel room, and we opened the door, and there was Annie. She was standing with a social worker, and we were so excited. We're like, Annie, welcome home. And she took one look at us and she took off down the hallway. Didn't quite go how we expected.
Our son, who was 10 at the time, goes, well, will they bring us up another one? We're like, no, we will go find her.
Yes.
She's got to be here in the hotel somewhere.
And so I tell you that story just to encourage you, begin dreaming, begin asking God, what are you calling us to? What direction do you want us to go together? In our unified state, we are powerful. The enemy knows that. So of course the enemy is going to stand and resist you. He's going to be after you. We have a target on our back as Christians who are married in a Christian marriage. The enemy knows the power that we have because of Christ. And so through this journey, I just encourage you. There's a great verse in Psalm 37. It says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. And so in essence, ask God, where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? Who do you want us to serve? Do you want us to give financially to an organization, to our church, to focus on the family? Ask him, what is it? Are we supposed to serve with a particular population? Are we supposed to give? What's going to bless others as a result of what you've done here?
As I think back on that whole adoption season, and by the way, this is not a commercial for adoption. No. This is Aaron and I have had many, many dreams together. This was one of them. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Here's what this does. When you guys dream together about how you're going to use your marriage to bless others, how you're not going to be a Dead Sea marriage to where this life-giving water flows in, but nothing flows out. We want our marriage to bless others. We want things to flow out. Here's the real power. See, I used to think that the cool part of the story was standing in that hotel room when they brought Annie to us, and it was the culmination of all those years for Aaron praying as an individual, then us praying together as a family. And as amazing as that was, that actually is not the power. It's never about the end. It's always about the journey. See, what Aaron and I have learned is that it was all of the months and months of talking and praying and dreaming. That's what radically changed our marriage. When Aaron and I were united around a vision, and we were pursuing that vision together, that's what changed us. Yeah, as awesome as it was to have Annie now what, 10 years as a part of our family, and so don't hear me. I mean, that's without words describes. I love my daughter, but I'm telling you what, it was the journey of pursuing that dream together that reconnected us.
Yeah, and it's recognizing whatever you have in mind as far as what the dream, the pursuit is, start moving in that direction with your spouse. But it's also recognizing that as we hand that over to God and we hold it loosely and let Him guide and lead, it may look very different as you walk down that road through different seasons, through different challenges, through ups and downs. But it's really, as Greg is saying, it's pursuing that dream together. It draws you close together. It draws you into unity. And that is a huge blessing within a marriage.
So how do you dream well together? It really, Aaron and I would encourage you, begins by going to the Lord through prayer and just literally taking each other's hand in sitting there together in praying and just asking God, how do you want to use our marriage? We're open. So it begins with an openness of asking the creator of this universe, God, how do you want to use our marriage? Because again, as Aaron just said, it's not about our efforts, our creativeness, how clever we are, how awesome the dream that we've come up with is. It's not about that. It's about saying, God, man, our hearts and our marriage is open. So Lord, use us, do your thing through us, love others through us. So for you guys tonight, maybe it's going to walk together. Sit in your favorite comfy chair, couch. Well, if it's a chair, then you'd be very intimate, so that's fine too.
Connected.
Fertilizer anyway. But it's beginning to just ask God, how do you want to use? We don't want this to be about us. We want this to be about you. We want to serve you, but we want to do this together. So what does that look like? So begin this process by praying. Sometimes it's another part of this is just asking people, what do you guys do together to serve others in hearing ideas. So we would encourage you in the comment section, what are you guys doing together? How are you using your marriage, your efforts together as a couple to bless others? And it can be anything. It could be, we teach a Sunday school class. Let's see.
Or maybe
our computer just went
shut down.
Went blank and was like, oh, did we lose everybody?
Yeah, or maybe it's volunteering at a pregnancy center or a homeless shelter or a food pantry. There's so many opportunities right now to give back because of the current state of our world. And there's something so beneficial about that as well. Yeah. And it may not be what you expect.
Yeah, it could be, helping to take an engaged couple, through a class or through a book, and to mentor them. I mean, it literally can be anything. It's the point is that it's something that we are doing together to love God, to love others, to serve others. And I love this quote. it says the best marriages involve two people who have a well-formed vision of the life that they are pursuing together. Do you now see what we're saying? Why, if you're brave enough, if you're courageous enough, that this will rock your connection. This is going to rock your marriage. That as Aaron and I do this, it will profoundly change, but it's also going to create more conflict. It's going to create attacks because the enemy doesn't want your marriage to serve anything. So just know we feel responsible to kind of give that as a warning that he's going to up his game to make sure that you are not unified. He hates your oneness because he knows the power of a couple who dream together. One of the things is Aaron and I have thought about this whole COVID quarantine and for so many couples it's been a remarkable season. Like for us, we haven't been able to travel. We've been confined to our home. So we've had ample opportunity to laugh and play together, to catch up on movies and shows that we've wanted to have amazing conversations, to have deep conversations, spend time with our kids. I mean, it's definitely been benefiting us. But honestly, there are a lot of people that this has been a really, really tough season. You think about being in a darkened theater. Okay, the lights are out. So imagine that. You're in a very dark theater, maybe about to watch a movie or a play, and all of a sudden you can't see anything because it's dark, and all of a sudden behind you comes on the big spotlight. So that big light, and it's coming right at you, and it's blinding, and it's actually right on you as a couple. For a lot of couples, this quarantine time has shined a light on some of the challenges that they haven't been willing to face. They've been able to stay distracted by a whole lot.
Through busyness and the pace that we typically run, that we can avoid these difficulties within our relationship. But through this time of COVID, it's been very apparent to many couples that we've got to get help, that there are issues within our relationship that are threatening the relationship.
Yeah. So for many couples, they want to come out of this time and keep doing what's been helping to strengthen. But there are so many couples that are hurting. And honestly, based on what we just talked about dreaming together, that need your help. They really do. This COVID is forever going to change our marriage. Your marriage is either going to continue to go stronger, or you're being faced to deal with some things that maybe that you've been able to be distracted against dealing with. And that's why we just want to encourage you again that a part of creating this dream together is just recognizing there are others who truly, truly need your help. One of the hardest parts of this quarantine time for Aaron and I personally, as a couple and as a family, is that back in January, our oldest daughter, Taylor, who was just celebrating her 3rd wedding anniversary, literally on their 3rd wedding anniversary, her husband came and told her that he was done, that he wanted out, that he wanted to be single, that he didn't want to be married any longer. And that was devastating. And it's still, it's hard to talk about. We love our son-in-law, who's now unfortunately our ex-son-in-law, but forever in our heart, in my heart, he's our son. And yet he made a choice to leave our daughter, and just seeing the absolute devastation that's caused her and our family has actually reignited just our own passion around marriage and marriage ministry, and actually it's ignited just a passion to be a part and partner with Focus on the Family in South Africa, because they're doing such amazing work. And Aaron and I want to encourage you in this way. Again, marriage, because of COVID, because of the quarantine, because of the social distancing, understand this, it has changed. We have an opportunity to influence what is that change going to look like. Now more than any other time that I can think of is the importance of really coming alongside of an organization who cares about marriage and is doing something about marriage. Remember, for some couples, there's been some great change, and they want to take that forward, but they still need help not to slip back into some old patterns. There are a lot of couples, as that big, huge spotlight is shining on them, they don't know what to do. And I tell you, what they can do is to reach out to Focus on the Family. What Graham and his team are doing, the resources that they have, the events that they put on, all the things that they're doing, it's going to have such a positive effect, but they really do need your help. So as we figure out what are we doing to use our marriage to bless others, I can't think of a better opportunity. You talk about taking your resources, your time, your prayer, your finances, and coming alongside Focus on the Family to make sure that all this change that's going on in your country, in our country around marriage, you guys, we have to act. I'm telling you, now is the time. Things are forever changed. We get to decide, what is marriage going to look like in our country over the next 20, 30, 40 years? I mean, you think about the generations of kids who will have parents who are not just together, but are thriving in their marriage because of the work that Focus on the Family is doing. And this is a part of dreaming together that you can come alongside them and become a partner. And you talk about such an amazing dream, such an amazing thing to do. Aaron and I are committed to you, and we want to help you continue to grow in your marriage. And so our offer to you is, if you become a monthly partner with Focus on the Family, we want to then give you our favorite resources. So remember, this thing is Reconnected. That's based on a brand new book. We want to get that book to you first and foremost. So show them this is what we want to send to you as you become a monthly partner with Focus on the Family.
This is our brand new book, Reconnected. And there's an assessment in here to see where are we disconnected? Where are we functioning like roommates? And how do we reconnect as soulmates? So this is our brand new book. Everything we taught today is out of this book. But not only do you get this, you also get one of our favorites, Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. And this is all about how do we be proactive within our relationship.
And that one, by the way, has a free assessment that you can take at the Focus on the Family website that will show you where your 3 strengths and where your 3 biggest growth areas. So again, remember, we're standing at a line going, we get to choose, is our marriage going to even be stronger, or are we going to slip back in patterns? Well, if you don't want to slip back into a bad habits that we had going on before COVID, take this assessment. Go through that, figure out what are some growth areas that we need to do so that we don't slip back into these old habits.
And that as we're breaking out of COVID and quarantine, we get to date again. And we dated at home, but now we get to go out. And so here's some great ideas. Take the date night challenge. Some great ideas to encourage your marriage through dating, as well as you will get a date night challenge event. It's a DVD that you can play at home and invite people over now and really have a great time encouraging your marriage through laughter and some teaching from us. And
that
you
could
can
be one of those dreams. Like,
yes.
That's a perfect thing to do together, is to
start
to
a small
teach.
group.
Exactly.
Have them over.
Idea.
As well as this is a CD collection of all of our broadcasts that have been on Focus on the Family. I believe there's 14 of them. And so
you're going to get tired of hearing my voice.
In essence, we will cross the ocean and come to you and come home with you if you partner with this amazing organization. Again, it's such a need. Our daughter and her husband are a great example that having resources and having other couples walk alongside these young couples for the next generation is key. And this is how you can be a part of that. Be a part of this army of raising up healthy marriages.
Yeah. Graham?
Thank you so much, Greg and Aaron. And Greg and Aaron are both right. We are doing what we can to help marriages and families thrive in this nation. And this is not just about our families. Actually, it is about our nation as a whole. Because when you look at the statistics of our nation, sometimes the dismaying statistics, when you look at the challenges that we face, when you break it down, it all comes back to family. And so can I ask you to consider monthly in some way supporting the ministry of Focus on the Family? And thank you, Greg and Aaron, for advocating for who we are and what we're doing. And we want to say thank you with that pack. As Greg and Aaron walk through, here it is. It is ready to be sent to your door. We're going to courier this package right to your door as soon as we can. And so how you do that is you go onto our website and you click on the donate button and you go to the Reconnected pledge. We're also going to post a direct link in our Facebook comment feed now, so you can click on that and it'll take you to this page we've set up, and you'll see that we are showing you those resources at the top of that page. Those are the books and DVDs that we're going to send to you if you sign up to become a partner with Focus on the Family. You fill in that form and you decide to give a monthly amount, maybe 100 Rand, maybe less, maybe more. And when you do that, we'll be sending this pack to you. It's a form that you fill in your banking details for a direct debit order, essentially, that you can stop at any time. So anytime you want to stop that, you get in touch with us and we'll action that immediately. But will you join with us? If you are already an existing partner with Focus on the Family, first of all, thank you. You are honestly our lifeblood. That monthly support is what enables us to do pretty much everything we do as a ministry. So thank you. If you're able to increase your support, we'd love to send you this pack as well. And so there's a place on that form, if you look at the bottom, there's a place for existing partners to increase that support. So will you join with us and sign up to become a monthly partner? And we'll get that pack out to you. And we know that you'll love those resources and they will have an impact in your own marriage and family. But we're encouraging you also to share those resources in your greater family and in your community, because we can do more together than apart. We're going to go into a short break now and hopefully give you some time to click on that link and sign up to become a monthly partner with Focus on the Family. After the break, we're going into the third session, question and answer time with Greg and Aaron. And so we're looking forward to that. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. We are ready for our third and final session. It's question and answer time. We're looking forward to answering those questions. We'll do our best. I know Greg and Erin will do their best to cover as many of the questions as they can in this time. And so do keep sending those questions through, and we'll respond. I'm going to ask the first question to Greg and Erin, and then after that we'll be feeding them through via text to them. But the first question is this: how do you deal with a special needs child and grow your marriage? How do you deal with a special needs child and while at the same time grow your marriage? And with that, it's back over to you, Greg and Erin.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I can imagine having a highly special needs child can be very taxing on a marriage. And, not that our daughter that we adopted has some special needs. And I know there's a whole spectrum of what that looks like, and how much time and effort and energy caring for them takes. And so all I can say is thank you for asking this question, because I know you are not alone in your pursuit of your marriage, as well as the pursuit of caring for a child with extra special needs.
Yeah, I would encourage. There's no formula, and so there's no way that Aaron and I could go, oh well, here's the two keys but what it does take though is it takes intentionality. One of the things that Aaron and I have learned is that it takes so much time to administrate our family, our marriage. You think about all of the discussions about finances and tasks and to-do lists in schedules. That just takes such an enormous amount of time, and usually those conversations end up monopolizing all of our conversation. So as we're caring for our kids, as we're caring for a special needs child, that stuff just takes over. And so we have to be then intentional to go, what is just one thing that we could do here maybe over the next 2 weeks, and literally take it 2 weeks, take it a week, take it a day at a time, and just go, what would be just one thing that we're going to do intentionally just to keep our marriage strong? I think when Aaron talked about those 10 minutes a day, to where we're not talking details or business, the business stuff of our marriage, but we're just focused on how you feeling. Well, what was the high of your day? What was the low of your day? What's most stressing you out? I think as we do that's probably the simplest way. And so again, I know that some of you are like, yeah, I wish we had 10 minutes. You going to come over to our house and watch our kids for 10 minutes? Well, Graham is very available and very willing to do that. Is that a part of that partnership agreement, Graham, that includes your babysitting? So it's really for you guys to figure out, what does that 10 minutes look like? Now, the good news is, I can't remember if you shared this, it doesn't have to be 10 consecutive minutes.
No,
did you say that?
No, I did not. It doesn't have to be 10 consecutive minutes, and it doesn't even have to be in person. It could be over Zoom or FaceTime, however you connect through technology. And so it doesn't have to be 10 minutes all at once. You can do 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. The fact is like you said, it's being intentional about the pursuit of each other's hearts, the continued pursuit of each other's hearts.
And Graham, we are not seeing any questions, so you may have to keep feeding them to us if you're able to see them. There's
Do you see them?
Here is another question that we're going to pitch to you, and we'll work on the technology to be getting that to you. Hopefully we'll get the next one through via text. But how do you maintain connection in a marriage that is surrounded by family members who purposefully cause constant interruption and even eruption between us, especially during lockdown? So how do we maintain that connection when we're surrounded by family members that are causing friction and problems, especially during this lockdown time?
Yeah, especially during this lockdown time, that it is challenging for a couple when you have multiple children or maybe even family members in the same household. How do you stay connected, just the two of you? We want to encourage you, first and foremost, part of fighting for your relationship is prioritizing. We talked about being intentional, but also prioritizing. And sometimes prioritizing is setting boundaries, saying it's completely appropriate to say, you know what, no, tonight it's our night. And we're going to have a date night at home. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to do whatever it is. And there's always going to be a pull from the world, from jobs, from, family members to separate and to get your attention, both of your attention or one of your attention. And thus it's so key that you continue to set the boundaries of prioritizing your relationship. I know we did this when our kids were little, even, that we would say at 8 p.m., it's bedtime. And if you interrupt us after 8 p.m., well, then there's consequences. And the next day, you're going to owe us some time, because we wanted to send the message to our children early that this marriage is valuable and it's important and it's a priority. Thus, we are going to set a boundary of an 8 p.m. bedtime, because then it's our time. And if you don't abide by that, well, then there's consequences.
I love that. And that really has worked.
Mhm.
Because it sends the message, as Aaron is saying, that our marriage is important, and that's a part of what then our kids are learning.
Mhm.
And so, our marriage is our kids are learning how to be married by watching us.
Mhm.
So our marriage is becoming the foundation of what their marriage will look like someday. And a part of that is knowing that, hey, we're going to prioritize each other. I love to tell our kids, it drives them crazy. I mean, you talk about irritating them, which is awesome. We tell them that, guys, you are not the center of our world. Our marriage is the sun. You orbit, as our children, you orbit around our marriage, and it's not the other way around. Our marriage will never orbit around you. And honestly, we tell them that. We tell them that we cannot wait until you are out of our home. Mom and I are going to have so much fun, and we're going to do so much smooching together and fertilizing together when you were not around, just because we want to see that idea that our marriage is important. And I know it grosses you out, and that's okay. And yet they need to understand that message. So tell them that. If they ask you, hey, what did you guys learn when you were on that date night thing? Tell them that our marriage is the sun and you orbit us, not the other way around.
Okay, here's another question. How do you keep the momentum in these pressures, around the pressures that are surrounding us? How do we keep momentum in our relationship, in our marriage, as there's so much pressure around us? And I will tell you, as I work with couples, right now I see the couples that I'm counseling via Zoom. So I'm not seeing them face to face, but via a screen, that all of the couples I am working with are dealing with different pressures during this time. There's a lot of stress. There's added stress. Maybe it's financial stress, health. Has someone gotten COVID? Is someone vulnerable to COVID? Kids being home, homeschooling, trying to manage working full time at home. I mean, there's so much that is being balanced right now. So it's very common. What I hear is that there's some stress here and some extra tension between the two of us. And we've tried to be creative with managing this. I'll let you share how we've done that.
Yeah, I love that idea on how do we keep the momentum as we come out of all this COVID. One of the things that Aaron and we actually had this conversation, so we would encourage you to have this conversation. We went for a walk. We were sitting down over coffee, I don't remember. But what we asked each other is, how has our marriage changed for the better? And what is one thing that we have been doing differently during this Corona season within our marriage? And what was really good about that is, if you just narrow it to one thing, don't come up with, hey, what are the 15 things that we've learned? Just come up, what's one thing that we've been doing differently now in our marriage. And therefore, how will we continue to do that one thing? Let's make plans around just that one thing. As I think about answering that question, I think what I said to you, one of the things that Aaron and I really started doing on a regular basis was talking about the loss that we were experiencing. All of us have experienced loss lately. So maybe that's, a big loss, like a job loss. Maybe someone, a loved one has died, maybe from Corona, and you weren't able to be a part of that funeral. Maybe it's the loss of being able to be a part of your social network.
For your church community.
Yeah. For us, one of the, this was a smaller loss, but it was still a loss, was that our son, for the first time in the history of his high school basketball team, they made it to the championship, and they were favored to win. And so Aaron and I, you think about all the gazillions of hours that we've sat at practices, that we've sat in the stands, the hot gym, watching all this, and they never played that game.
Yeah, it got canceled, and he was a senior, so that's it. The majority of the team were seniors that had worked toward that moment for all these years, and gone. And his high school graduation, well, they did something unique. It was different, but the dream that was going to look like, gone. And so we're grieving. And so we've been intentional about having those conversations. What loss are you dealing with today or this week? What are you aware of? What's made you sad inside? As far as what this has looked like. And as you recognize the extra tension and pressure on your marriage, maybe it is that, hey, what can we do to be intentional about strengthening it? Maybe seeking help from a licensed Christian counselor, maybe seeking help from a pastor, or, joining a marriage small group, reading a marriage book together. Just doing something intentional to build your relationship during the time of stress. In essence, it's like counterproductive. It's being what's the word? Not
counter.
I can't think of the word. Anyway, it's being proactive. There we go. Being proactive amidst the stress. I don't know what the counter word was, but oh well. Be proactive amidst this time, fighting for your relationship, prioritizing your relationship. In Scripture, it says marriage should be honored by all. Specifically, we have that opportunity, and we're teaching our kids who are watching us, and we're showing them, how do we honor our marriage?
Yeah. And that's, again, Focus on the Family has these resources. So I love that, Graham, that you guys are making that offer. When they partner with you, they're going to get all those resources. So maybe a part of how you don't slip into old habits is by taking the book Reconnected. This has so many of our favorite, just tiny ways on how we can better connect. In one way may not work. It's maybe the wrong season for you, which is why the book is loaded with just real simple, easy ways to connect. And so again, Focus has those resources, so you don't have to slip back into these old habits.
Another question is, Lulu says, how do I deal with a spouse who doesn't value quality time? How do you deal with a spouse that doesn't value quality time? What do you think, Greg?
Well, so I'd love to sit with Lulu and better understand, because my guess is that if Aaron could make that same statement, she could go, the way that she loves what quality time means for her is not the same for me. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like for Aaron, an ideal quality time would be us, at a coffee house, sitting across the table, looking deeply in one another's eyes. Of
course, right now we can't do that,
right. but I'm just saying,
dream about it, that's what it would look like.
In a deep conversation, and that's really for you, that's the essence of quality time. That's not my idea of quality time. And so part of it is just understanding that we're very different in that way. I tell you, one of the things that Aaron, I love this, that she's realized about me, is that if her goal is that deeper conversation, don't sit me across from her in a booth at a coffee house. Guy, we just don't like to. We don't like to sit and stare. It's just not our thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what she does do is say, "Hey, let's go for a walk." I feel like a dog, actually. Hey, you want to go for a walk?
Yeah.
Where? Yeah. And there's something about when we are shoulder to shoulder and we're walking forward, and I don't have to be looking deeply into her eyes. Man, she gets me into just great conversation.
Or going for a hike. It's just noticing that we're different. I'm much more extroverted. He's much more introverted. What quality time is to me is different to him. But it's also letting your spouse know that, hey, I'd really like to be more connected. And just putting that out there. And what would that look like for you? What would I do? How would you want to connect?
Yeah, what would we do what would we be doing?
Yes.
If you felt super connected.
Yes. Great question.
And then you do those things. And I get that in an ideal perfect marriage, I would be doing all of the things that Erin loves to do that speaks connection to her and deep connection.
Bargain shopping?
Well,
as stores are reopening,
I've heard there's great bargains in South Africa, and so
he's volunteering to come with me shopping in South Africa.
Yes,
see,
you heard me. I will make that
committing to it. So when we come next time, we will go and do some shopping. Graham was a great host last time and took us to many shopping places.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Yeah, for that. So again, hopefully. That what's making sense about that is just to recognize that we both define quality of time very, very different. And a part of discovering, keeping current, like we talked about earlier, is asking her, okay, what would we be doing if you were feeling that we were super connected? And that's the stuff I want to write down. And I guarantee you, coffee house, bargain shopping, all those things would be on there. And then I get to make that choice because I want to be connected to her. And hopefully she wants the same thing, and we'll know what those look like for me. And then we can alternate those kinds of things.
Okay. Another question. How can you encourage a spouse to have heart-to-heart conversations when they find them very uncomfortable and difficult? And again, we're different in that. As I think about a heart-to-heart conversation, I think I light up like a Christmas tree. However, it's not quite the same for you, right?
No, that's why I remember Erin said that, like, I would hate if she asked me, hey, how are you feeling? How are you doing emotionally? I mean, I'm a psychologist. And that would still make me feel super awkward and uncomfortable versus you. That's one of her questions. She loves that. And so part of it is recognizing that, there's, for me personally, to go to that deep kind of level that requires a vulnerability that just can sometimes feel super intimidating, or it takes me a little bit longer to get there. Erin, and I'm not saying that all women do this. I'm just saying for me, my wife, my Erin, she can go deep emotionally, literally in nanoseconds. And it just takes me a little bit longer. It's like she has to warm me.
I have to prime the pump.
It's like she's like a microwave oven in terms of going deep. She just instantly can be there. And for me, it's more like a slow, a pot of cold water that you turn the gas on, the burner on. It just takes a while to get me there. So I say all that to go, that's what I love about when she says, hey, what was the high of your day, the best part of your day, and what was the low? What was maybe a hard part of your day? And that I just get into that conversation, and then she starts to go a little bit deeper. Then she'll ask me other things, and we end up having a good conversation.
Yeah, and again, those conversation starters that are going to be available to you, utilize those. I know there's times we'll go to dinner, and Greg will he's downloaded them on his phone, and so he'll pull his phone out and he'll just start with the conversation starters. They're questions that help facilitate connection. And as you are beginning to connect heart to heart with your spouse, even the opportunity is to ask them, hey, is there anything that would help you to feel comfortable talking at that deeper heart level? Anything I could do that could influence that? Again, you can't control what they do, but you absolutely have influence. And so it's just asking. They're the expert in them. And so they can tell you, this is what would help me to feel safe going deeper. And as we feel safe, our heart's open, and that's when that deep connection happens.
Yeah, that's that's because I'm not in those moments that we do have a little bit of time together. I'm just not that creative. that the good questions just automatically come to me. They just don't, which is why I've kept that. I was looking for it on my phone.
Yeah.
I just got a new phone and I'm not seeing it, so I gotta do my own advice. So I'm gonna take the link and then put the PDF back on my phone. It was there, but that it just helps me because I just, it's hard for me to think of new questions, and which is why we asked you to post and comment some of your favorite, because that'll help me. I guarantee I'll see those, and I'm going to use some of the ones that you guys came up with. So thank you. You've helped strengthen our marriages as well. You guys, at the end of the day, our desire is to be deeply connected, and that's never going to happen on its own. I love, there's a great quote that says marriage is an edifice, so a structure that has to be rebuilt every day. And as you really think about that, that's powerful. That is exactly right. That my marriage is something that I have to build every single day. Our marriage doesn't have an autopilot button, a cruise control like we have in our cars that we can just press and just expect that it's going to go down the road and our marriage will be fine. We hear people that say, well, hey, when the kids are older, and when the kids are out of the house, we'll really be able to reconnect then. That is such a myth. It just, that's not reality. It doesn't work that way, because we've heard too many people when their kids leave and they look at each other and they are like, I'm married to a stranger. And it doesn't have to be that way for you.
And today we talked about 2 ways that you can connect and reconnect. And one was to pursue each other, from that scripture, how do we cleave to one another, to pursue and to woo or allure one another. Really spend some time around that, but then also start dreaming together. Many times couples don't even recognize that they stopped dreaming at some point. Begin asking God, even tonight, pray together. God, what are you calling us to in this next season? What is it going to look like? Because again, marriage, your own marriage, as well as other marriages in your country, have been impacted as a result of this quarantine season, this COVID season. And again, we want to encourage you to become a monthly donor, monthly partner with Focus on the Family, and get these great Smalley resources. And you can utilize those to continue pouring into your own marriage and into others' marriages, because your marriage is valuable and we need each other as we pursue healthy marriages.
Yeah, remember, marriage forever will be changed because of COVID, because of what we're all coming out of. Marriage will be different. It will be changed. You get to choose what that's going to look like. And again, helping and partnering with Focus on the Family, you guys are writing a whole new chapter for your marriages there in South Africa. It's amazing to think, boy, what Graham and his team, through your help and your partnership, are going to be able to do. And we're excited to watch that. And we can't wait, Graham, for you to have us now back live in person, in country. And so Aaron and I are really, truly looking forward to that. So thank you for taking the time. And we love spending this time with you. So we wish you absolute best in your marriage.
Well, thank you so much, Greg and Aaron. We just so appreciate your wisdom, your insight into this aspect of marriage. And we appreciate your availability. We are very anxious to get you here again physically, and we're working on that. But we appreciate you just being available to join us in this way. And we know that many couples, marriages have been strengthened as a result of this event tonight in this country and even beyond. And so we just want to say we appreciate you and thank you so much for your willingness and your availability and just sharing the gifts that God has given you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gents, that was Reconnected, moving from roommates to soulmates in your marriage. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Those partnership packs are ready to be sent out, so that pledge offering with the resources will be there. You can still take advantage of that. This video will also stay on our Facebook feed, so we encourage you to share this feed with those that you know couldn't make the live event. You can post something on your Facebook at the link back to the video. We'd love it for as many people as possible to have access to this incredible content. And I want to say thank you to those who have already signed up to become partners with Focus. We really appreciate you. But thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. We wish you all the best. God bless.